10 Truths You Need to Accept About People. Stoicism. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Socrates. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and wondered what truly lies behind them? Every person we meet is a mystery, a complex tapestry woven from countless experiences, beliefs, and emotions. Yet, despite all our interactions, there's often a gap between what we see and what we understand about others. But what if I told you that by embracing a few fundamental truths about human nature, you could bridge that gap? In today's video, we uncover 10 truths you need to accept about people, guided by the timeless teachings of Stoicism. These truths are not about judgment, but about insight that empowers us to see beyond surface-level differences and recognize the shared human condition that binds us all. We'll explore how these ancient principles can transform your relationships, enhance your empathy, and give you the resilience to face life's challenges with grace and wisdom. Join me on this journey as we reveal the profound Stoic wisdom that can reshape how you perceive and connect with those around you. And if you're new here at Stoic in Your Life, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay with us until the end. This isn't just another video. It's a gateway to a deeper understanding of the world and your place within it. Are you ready to see people and yourself in a whole new light? Let's get started. Number 1. Everyone is shaped by their experiences. Consider this. Each of us is like a tapestry, woven from threads of every experience we've had, every triumph, every failure, every love, and every loss. We often walk around thinking we understand people based on a few superficial observations, but the truth is far deeper. Stoicism teaches us that it's not just the experiences themselves that shape who we are, but more importantly, how we choose to respond to those experiences. Life in this sense becomes a crucible for character development, where each challenge or setback we face is not a burden, but an opportunity to forge a stronger self. Think about someone you know who has been through significant hardships. Perhaps they've experienced financial ruin, a devastating loss, or a profound personal betrayal. Such a person might seem guarded, cautious, or even somewhat pessimistic, not because they inherently lack trust or optimism, but because life has taught them the impermanence of things and the need for resilience. Their approach to life is tempered by a hard-earned understanding of its fragility and unpredictability. Contrast this with someone who has grown up in a more protected environment, where challenges were few and support was plentiful. They might walk through life with a confident stride, expecting the best from people and situations, because their experiences have not yet taught them otherwise. Neither perspective is inherently right or wrong. Instead, each represents a unique lens shaped by a different set of experiences. This realization can fundamentally alter how we perceive and interact with others. When we encounter someone who reacts in ways that confound or frustrate us, perhaps they are overly defensive, or maybe they seem inexplicably angry, we should pause and reflect on the unseen experiences that might be influencing their behavior. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By focusing on how we choose to respond rather than letting our reactions control us, we create space for more compassionate and meaningful connections. This perspective doesn't just help us understand others better, it also helps us develop greater empathy, a key component of emotional intelligence. In today's complex social environments, whether in professional settings or personal relationships, this kind of empathy allows us to navigate interactions with greater finesse and wisdom. It merges the timeless teachings of Stoicism with the principles of modern psychology, offering a roadmap for more fulfilling and harmonious relationships. When we recognize that everyone we meet is a product of their own unique journey, shaped by experiences we may never fully comprehend, we can approach them with a greater sense of patience and understanding. Let's consider a modern-day scenario. You're in a tense meeting at work, and a colleague suddenly snaps at you over a minor disagreement. Your first reaction might be anger or defensiveness. How dare they speak to you that way? But pause for a moment and think. Could it be that they are dealing with something far heavier than the meeting at hand? Maybe they are struggling with personal issues at home, or they've been under tremendous stress. By recognizing that their reaction is likely shaped by unseen pressures, you can choose to respond with calmness and empathy rather than escalating the conflict. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, controlling your own response to the situation rather than letting it control you. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. As Marcus Aurelius also wisely noted, by integrating this mindset into our daily lives, we start to see every interaction as an opportunity to practice patience and understanding, and every conflict as a chance to apply the principles of Stoicism, responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. The lesson here is profound. By understanding that each person is shaped by a myriad of unseen experiences, we open the door to deeper, more genuine human connections. We learn to listen more than we speak, to ask questions rather than make assumptions, and to offer compassion instead of judgment. This approach enriches not only our relationships but also our own sense of self, allowing us to grow stronger and wiser with each encounter. So, as you continue on this path of self-discovery and understanding, remember that the goal is not to change others, but to change how you perceive and respond to them. By doing so, you create a ripple effect that can transform not just your interactions, but your entire approach to life. Number 2. Diverse communication styles. When it comes to interacting with others, it's crucial to recognize that everyone has their own unique way of communicating. This is not just a superficial observation, but a fundamental aspect of human interaction deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This quote highlights the importance of understanding and adapting to different communication styles rather than imposing our own way of speaking or listening on others. You might have noticed how some people are more direct, getting straight to the point, while others prefer a softer, more diplomatic approach. Some are passionate and expressive, their voices rising and falling with emotion, while others are calm and measured, almost detached. These differences in communication are not random. They are shaped by a person's upbringing, culture, education, and personal experiences. For instance, someone raised in a family where open, loud debates were encouraged might naturally be more assertive, while another who grew up in a quieter, more reserved environment might prefer subtle hints and indirect cues. Now consider this. Have you ever found yourself frustrated in a conversation because it seemed like the other person just wasn't getting your point? Or perhaps you felt misunderstood because the other person kept interrupting or steering the conversation in a direction that didn't make sense to you. It's easy to get annoyed or assume bad intentions, but the truth is often much simpler. They might just have a different communication style. Think about it in a work setting. Imagine you're in a meeting, presenting your ideas, and a colleague keeps cutting in, questioning your every point. It's tempting to see this as a challenge or even an attack. But what if this colleague grew up in a culture or a family where debating ideas is seen as a form of engagement and interest, not conflict? Recognizing this can shift your perspective. Instead of feeling defensive, you could see it as a sign that they're genuinely interested in what you have to say and want to explore it more deeply. This shift in perspective can be a game changer, transforming potential conflicts into opportunities for deeper understanding and collaboration. Let's take a moment to reflect on a modern story that brings this point to life. Picture a team of diverse professionals working together on a high-stakes project. Among them is Alex, who grew up in a culture where straightforwardness and blunt honesty are valued. He tends to communicate directly, sometimes coming off as a bit harsh or unfiltered. Then there's Maria, who was raised in a community where maintaining harmony and avoiding confrontation are paramount. Her communication style is more reserved. She prefers to use gentle suggestions rather than direct criticism. During a project meeting, Alex and Maria clash. Alex, in his usual manner, points out a flaw in Maria's plan with blunt honesty, which she perceives as a personal attack. Maria, feeling hurt, withdraws from the conversation, which frustrates Alex further as he interprets her silence as a lack of engagement or even incompetence. This misunderstanding could easily escalate, affecting team dynamics and the project's success. However, suppose they both took a step back and tried to understand each other's communication styles. Alex could learn to temper his directness with a bit more sensitivity, understanding that not everyone appreciates blunt feedback. Maria, on the other hand, could work on not taking direct comments personally and see them as constructive rather than destructive. By doing so, they not only improve their communication, but also strengthen their professional relationship and foster a more inclusive and effective team environment. Now let's bring this back to you. How often do you find yourself misinterpreting someone's words or actions simply because they communicate differently? And more importantly, how often do you consider adjusting your communication style to better connect with others? It's easy to default to our own habits and preferences, but the Stoic approach encourages us to step outside ourselves and see things from the other person's perspective. As Marcus Aurelius once said, whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? This reflection reminds us to be mindful of our own biases and habits, and to approach others with empathy and understanding. The takeaway here is powerful. By acknowledging and adapting to diverse communication styles, we can improve not just our conversations, but our relationships, both personal and professional. We can create an environment where differences are not seen as barriers but as opportunities for growth and learning. And isn't that what Stoicism teaches us at its core? To accept what we cannot change, to change what we can, and to always strive for harmony and understanding in our interactions with others. So, next time you find yourself in a conversation that feels challenging, pause for a moment. Consider the other person's background, their experiences, and how these might shape the way they communicate. Ask yourself, how can I adapt my style to better connect with them? This small shift in mindset can make a world of difference, turning misunderstandings into meaningful dialogue, frustration into empathy, and division into connection. Remember, the goal isn't to change who you are, but to expand your capacity for understanding and adapting to the diverse world around you. In doing so, you'll find yourself not only becoming a better communicator, but also a more compassionate and effective human being. Number 3. Varied responses to stress. Think about the last time you faced a stressful situation. Maybe it was at work, at home, or even in traffic. How did you react? Did you explode like a thunderstorm, expressing your frustration outwardly? Or did you quietly withdraw, mulling over your thoughts and feelings? You see, stress affects everyone differently, and our responses can range widely, from outward displays of anger and frustration to inward retreats of quiet contemplation. These varied reactions are not just random behaviors. They are deeply embedded in who we are, shaped by our personalities, life experiences, and even our biology. The ancient Stoics, who devoted their lives to understanding human nature and mastering self-control, offer profound insights into how we can better manage these stress responses. As Epictetus wisely noted, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This Stoic teaching is crucial when considering the diverse ways people handle stress. For instance, someone who becomes confrontational or aggressive under stress might benefit from the Stoic practice of pausing, reflecting, and exercising restraint, transforming a potentially volatile situation into an opportunity for calm and reasoned dialogue. On the other hand, those who tend to withdraw and internalize their stress might find value in Stoicism's emphasis on mindful self-examination and taking proactive steps to address their concerns, rather than retreating into a shell of avoidance or anxiety. But how can we apply these teachings in our daily lives? Let's take a moment to explore this further. Imagine you're dealing with a colleague who, when under stress, tends to raise their voice and push their opinions forcefully. It's easy to take this personally or to respond in kind, escalating the tension. But what if you instead chose to respond with a calm and measured tone? acknowledging their feelings while also steering the conversation towards constructive solutions. This approach, inspired by Stoic principles, not only diffuses the immediate tension but also sets a tone of respect and understanding. Alternatively, think of a friend or family member who becomes quiet and withdrawn when stressed. Rather than pressing them for a quick response or trying to fix their mood, consider giving them the space they need to process their thoughts, followed by a gentle offer of support when they're ready to talk. This kind of empathy, rooted in the Stoic understanding of human behavior, fosters a more supportive and harmonious environment where people feel seen and understood, not judged or coerced. Understanding these varied responses to stress also enriches our emotional intelligence, helping us navigate the complexities of our interpersonal relationships with greater skill and empathy. It's not about trying to change how others react to stress, but about recognizing these patterns and learning how to respond to them in ways that promote mutual respect and understanding. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This wisdom reminds us to maintain our composure and principles, even in stressful situations, and to avoid mirroring the negativity of others. By doing so, we not only preserve our own peace of mind, but also model a more constructive way of handling stress for those around us. Consider for a moment your own reactions to stress. Are there times when you wish you could handle a situation differently? How might the teachings of Stoicism help you in those moments? By reflecting on these questions, we begin to see stress not as an unavoidable curse but as a catalyst for personal growth and self-improvement. The Stoics believed that every challenge, including stress, is an opportunity to practice virtue, to cultivate wisdom, courage, and self-control. When we embrace this mindset, we transform the way we experience stress. It becomes less about the immediate discomfort and more about what we can learn from it and how we can use it to grow stronger and more resilient. So, next time you find yourself or someone else reacting to stress, pause and remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Reflect on how you can control your own responses rather than being controlled by them. Can you choose patience over impatience, calm over chaos, understanding over judgment? These choices not only improve your interactions with others, but also help you cultivate a sense of inner peace and resilience, a hallmark of Stoic calm that can positively influence every aspect of your life, whether at home, in the workplace, or within your community. By embracing these lessons, we transform the challenge of stress into an opportunity for growth and connection, aligning ourselves with the Stoic ideals of wisdom, courage, and virtue. After all, isn't the ultimate goal of Stoicism to live in harmony with oneself and with others, to turn every obstacle into an opportunity for wisdom and strength? Let's take this journey together, using the teachings of the Stoics to build a more understanding, resilient, and connected world. Number 4. Inherent judgment. How often do we catch ourselves making snap judgments about people we barely know? Perhaps it's a quick assumption about a stranger's character based on their appearance, or a hasty conclusion about a colleague's behavior in a meeting. This tendency to judge quickly has deep historical roots, dating back to a time when our ancestors needed to rapidly assess their surroundings for potential threats to survive. These judgments were essential for detecting danger, ensuring safety, and making quick decisions in a primitive world. However, in our modern, complex social landscape, these rapid assessments often lead to misunderstandings and conflicts, as they are usually based on incomplete or misleading information. The Stoics understood this human tendency well and offered a different path, the practice of suspending immediate judgment. As Marcus Aurelius wisely put it, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you but your own judgment about it." The Stoics believed that a wise person strives to see things clearly, free from the distortions of initial impressions or unfounded assumptions. They taught us to question our gut reactions and to consider whether they stem from solid facts or from hidden biases and emotions. Imagine a moment when you felt wronged or misunderstood because someone judged you prematurely. How did that make you feel? Now consider how often we might do the same to others without even realizing it. This reflective practice of questioning our immediate reactions aligns with the Stoic ideal of cultivating virtue through understanding and self-control. By taking a moment to pause and reflect before forming conclusions, we allow ourselves the opportunity to gather more information and gain a fuller understanding of the people and situations around us. This approach can help us avoid the pitfalls of stereotypes or the unfair judgments that often arise from a lack of context. For instance, if a colleague misses a crucial deadline, our first thought might be that they are careless or lack professionalism. However, if we pause and consider other possibilities, such as personal issues they might be facing, a sudden illness, or perhaps an overwhelming workload, we are more likely to respond with empathy and support rather than frustration or criticism. This practice not only prevents unnecessary conflict, but also fosters deeper, more meaningful relationships based on mutual understanding and respect. As Seneca advised, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. By curbing our imagination's tendency to run wild with judgment, we open ourselves to more compassionate and reasoned responses. Moreover, this Stoic approach encourages us to interact with others based on a more accurate picture of their circumstances and character, rather than a quick, often flawed impression. In doing so, we build stronger, more trusting relationships that are essential for personal and professional growth. Imagine the impact if everyone practiced this level of mindfulness. Our workplaces would be more collaborative, our communities more supportive, and our personal lives richer and more fulfilling. By adopting this mindful approach to judgment, we not only enhance our interactions with others, but also contribute to a more understanding and tolerant society. This practice reflects the Stoic commitment to living according to reason and virtue, not only improving our own lives, but also positively influencing the lives of those around us. After all, isn't the goal of Stoicism to live in harmony with oneself and others, making the world a better place through wisdom, patience, and virtue? The next time you find yourself rushing to judgment, pause and ask yourself, am I seeing the whole picture, or am I letting my assumptions get in the way? This simple shift in perspective can transform your relationships and lead you toward a more fulfilling and enlightened path, where every interaction is an opportunity to practice understanding and kindness. Thank you for joining us in today's video. Before we move on to the next segment, I'd like to take a moment to express my gratitude to you. It's a pleasure to have you as a member of our community. Please feel free to share your story or personal impressions. Alternatively, if you're unsure of what to say, simply leave a comment saying, "I am a newbie," if you've just joined us, or "I am Stoic," if you've been with us for a while. Your engagement not only signifies your presence but also serves as a significant motivation for us. All right, let's continue this journey together, shall we? Number 5. Universal insecurities. Let's talk about something that everyone feels but few openly discuss: insecurities. No matter how confident someone appears on the outside, underneath that facade, insecurities often simmer. It's a universal part of the human experience, a thread that connects all of us no matter our background, status, or achievements. Recognizing this truth can fundamentally change how we interact with others and how we see ourselves. Stoicism, with its profound insights into human nature, teaches us that these insecurities are not flaws, but simply aspects of our shared humanity. The real power lies in how we respond to them. As Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When we acknowledge our insecurities and examine them through a lens of objectivity and self-compassion, we open the door to managing them more effectively. Instead of letting these insecurities control us or dictate our actions, we can choose to face them with courage and understanding. This approach not only deepens our self-awareness, but also fosters empathy for others, reminding us that everyone, from the most powerful CEO to the quietest individual in the room, struggles with their own doubts and fears. Imagine you're in a meeting, and you notice a colleague hesitating to share their ideas. It's easy to interpret their hesitation as a lack of confidence or even a lack of preparedness. But what if instead, you consider that they might be feeling insecure about speaking up, afraid of being judged or dismissed? What if you could recognize that their silence isn't about their lack of ideas, but perhaps a fear rooted in past experiences? This awareness allows you to approach them differently, to gently encourage them to share, and to make it clear that their input is valued. By doing so, you help create an environment where people feel safe to express themselves, where insecurity does not silence creativity and collaboration. The Stoic approach to understanding insecurities isn't about dismissing them, but about seeing them as a chance to build stronger, more supportive relationships. By acknowledging that we all have our own fears and doubts, we can move away from judgment or competition and instead foster a spirit of kindness and support. Think about your own life for a moment. How often have you held back from saying something or doing something because you were afraid of what others might think? And how might your life be different if you approach those moments with the understanding that everyone else is likely feeling the same way? This is where Stoicism offers a path forward. Instead of letting insecurities be a barrier, we can use them as a bridge to connect more authentically with others. By openly discussing our insecurities, we invite others to do the same, creating a space of mutual trust and respect. This doesn't mean our insecurities magically disappear, but it does mean they lose their power to isolate us. Instead, they become part of a shared human experience, something that brings us closer together rather than pushing us apart. Furthermore, embracing this Stoic mindset allows us to build more genuine relationships. When we stop hiding behind a facade of invulnerability and instead acknowledge our insecurities, we create a foundation for deeper, more meaningful connections. This honesty invites others to also drop their masks, fostering a culture of authenticity and openness. In a world that often values appearance over substance, this kind of genuine connection is rare and precious. It aligns perfectly with the Stoic ideals of virtue and wisdom, promoting not just personal growth but a more empathetic and understanding society. Each time we engage with others from this place of awareness, we practice these principles, enhancing not only our own lives but also the lives of those around us. So, how can you start applying this understanding today? Next time you find yourself in a situation where someone seems withdrawn or overly defensive, ask yourself, what insecurity might they be grappling with? How can I respond in a way that acknowledges their humanity rather than judges it? And in those moments when you feel your own insecurities rising, remember that they do not define you. They are simply a part of the human condition, a reminder that you are not alone in your struggles. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By embracing this mindset, we turn every interaction into an opportunity to practice empathy, to build stronger connections, and to cultivate a deeper sense of peace and understanding in our lives. This is the true power of Stoicism, using its teachings not just to better ourselves but to create a more compassionate and interconnected world. So, let's take this insight forward, knowing that every conversation, every encounter, is a chance to lift each other up, to see beyond the surface and to connect in ways that truly matter. Number 6. Self-interest in relationships. When it comes to understanding human nature, one of the most fundamental truths we need to accept is that people are often motivated by self-interest, especially in relationships. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's simply a part of being human. Every person you encounter has their own needs, desires, and motivations that shape how they interact with the world and with others. It's not about selfishness per se, but about survival, fulfillment, and navigating life in a way that feels right for them. The Stoic philosophers, like Marcus Aurelius, taught us to recognize this truth without judgment. He wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." This quote encourages us to understand our motivations and those of others, to see that self-interest is often a natural response to the world around us, shaped by our experiences, needs, and desires. Now you might be thinking, isn't it disheartening to see relationships as driven by self-interest? But let's take a closer look. Understanding self-interest in relationships doesn't mean becoming cynical or believing that everyone is out to exploit each other. Instead, it's about acknowledging that people often act based on what they believe will best serve their needs, whether those needs are for love, security, recognition, or even just companionship. Take, for example, a workplace scenario where a colleague seems overly eager to collaborate with you on a high-visibility project. At first glance, you might think they're simply being a team player, but upon reflection, you might realize they are also motivated by the opportunity to shine in front of upper management. Does this make them selfish? Not necessarily. It makes them human. Recognizing this can help you navigate such situations more wisely, aligning your own interests without feeling manipulated or betrayed. This understanding allows you to see the broader picture, where multiple interests can coexist and even complement each other. How does this apply to personal relationships? Think about a time when a friend or loved one acted in a way that seemed more about their needs than yours. Maybe they made a decision that prioritized their comfort or convenience, and you felt hurt or overlooked. What if, instead of immediately feeling resentful, you asked yourself why they might have acted that way? Could it be that they were overwhelmed, dealing with their own issues, or simply unaware of how their actions affected you? Understanding that everyone, including ourselves, is often guided by self-interest can help us approach these situations with more empathy and less judgment. We can ask more open-ended questions to understand their perspective better. What were they hoping to achieve? Or what need were they trying to fulfill? This approach doesn't excuse selfish behavior, but it does provide a more compassionate framework for understanding it. In a romantic relationship, for instance, conflicts often arise because of unmet needs or misunderstood intentions. One partner might want more quality time, while the other might crave more independence. Both are acting from self-interest, seeking what makes them feel loved and secure, but their interests seem to clash. The Stoic approach here is to communicate openly and honestly about these needs, to understand each other's motivations, and to find a balance that respects both parties. As Seneca wisely said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." This means that much of the conflict in relationships arises not from the actions themselves, but from how we perceive and interpret those actions. By recognizing the role of self-interest, we can remove some of the emotional charge from our interpretations and approach conflicts more rationally. Moreover, embracing the concept of self-interest in relationships doesn't mean we give up on altruism or selflessness. Instead, it allows us to understand that these too can be forms of enlightened self-interest. Helping others, being kind or acting generously often makes us feel good, strengthens our bonds, and contributes to our sense of purpose and well-being. Thus, recognizing self-interest helps us see that what might appear as purely selfless actions are often mutually beneficial, contributing to our happiness and the happiness of those around us. This understanding encourages a more balanced view of human behavior, one that accepts our nature without condemning it and that looks for harmony between our needs and the needs of others. So, the next time you find yourself feeling frustrated because someone seems to be acting out of self-interest, pause and reflect. What might they be seeking? Is there a way to align your needs with theirs? Can you find common ground where both of you feel valued and respected? And perhaps most importantly, consider your own actions. How often are you acting out of self-interest, and how does that shape your relationships? By reflecting on these questions, we begin to understand that self-interest is not a negative force, but a driving factor in human behavior that, when acknowledged and understood, can lead to deeper connections and a more empathetic view of the world around us. In embracing this Stoic perspective, we find that our relationships become richer and more authentic. We learn to accept people for who they are, not who we want them to be. we become better at navigating the complexities of human interaction, finding ways to meet our needs without compromising our values or the well-being of others. And through this, we not only grow as individuals, but also help create a more understanding, compassionate world. Remember, recognizing self-interest doesn't mean we abandon kindness or generosity. It means we approach them with greater wisdom and insight, knowing that in helping others, we often help ourselves. So let's strive to see the best in others, even when their actions are guided by self-interest, and let's use that understanding to build stronger, more meaningful relationships. Number 7. Projection of thoughts and feelings. Have you ever found yourself attributing your own thoughts or feelings to someone else? It's a common human tendency known as projection, where we unconsciously assign our own emotions, desires, or insecurities onto others. This often happens without us realizing it, but it profoundly shapes how we perceive and interact with those around us. The Stoics, with their deep understanding of human psychology, offer valuable insights into why we project and how we can better manage this tendency to foster healthier relationships. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This profound observation reminds us that what we think and feel internally often spills over into how we view others. When we project our fears or judgments onto someone else, we are not seeing them as they truly are. Instead, we see a reflection of our inner state. This habit can distort our understanding of the world and lead to misunderstandings and conflicts. Let's explore this concept with a story that might resonate with you. Picture a situation where you're in a meeting and a colleague disagrees with your proposal. Instantly, you might feel defensive, interpreting their disagreement as a personal attack or a sign of disrespect. But is that truly what's happening? Or is it possible that you are projecting your own insecurities or fear of criticism onto that person? Perhaps deep down, you're worried about not being good enough, and their simple disagreement has triggered this buried fear. When you look at it this way, you realize the issue might not be with them at all. It might be with how you're interpreting their actions through the lens of your own unresolved feelings. This is where Stoicism teaches us to take a step back and reflect. Epictetus reminds us, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By recognizing our tendency to project, we can pause before reacting, giving ourselves the chance to see the situation more clearly and respond more wisely. How often do we misunderstand others because we assume they think or feel the same way we do? For example, consider a scenario where you're feeling particularly anxious about a decision, and you notice a friend or partner seems distant or distracted. It's easy to jump to conclusions, thinking they must be upset or worried just like you. But what if they are simply preoccupied with their own thoughts, completely unrelated to your situation? By projecting your anxiety onto them, you create unnecessary tension and conflict. This is why the Stoics emphasize the importance of distinguishing between what is within our control and what is not. Our thoughts and interpretations are within our control. Other people's minds are not. By keeping this distinction clear, we can navigate our relationships with more peace and understanding. Let's relate this to another modern-day example: social media. How often do we see a post or a comment and immediately assume the worst? We might think, "They must be talking about me," or "They're trying to undermine my success." But in reality, the post might have nothing to do with us at all. Our minds are wired to fill in the blanks, often in ways that reflect our own insecurities or biases. When we project these onto others, we are not only doing them a disservice, but also robbing ourselves of peace and clarity. Instead, what if we applied the Stoic practice of examining our reactions and asking ourselves, "Why am I interpreting it this way? What does this say about my state of mind?" As Seneca advised, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. By curbing our imagination's tendency to run wild with projection, we free ourselves from unnecessary emotional turmoil and foster healthier, more authentic relationships. So, how can you start applying this insight today? The next time you find yourself feeling hurt, angry, or defensive, take a moment to ask yourself, Am I projecting my feelings onto this person? Is there another way to view this situation that doesn't assume negative intent? By pausing to reflect, you open up space for a more balanced response, one that considers both your emotions and the reality of the situation. This practice not only improves your relationships but also helps you cultivate a deeper sense of inner peace, knowing that much of the conflict we experience is self-created. By understanding projection, we learn to separate our emotions from our interpretations, leading to a more grounded and rational approach to our interactions with others. In conclusion, recognizing the habit of projection is crucial for anyone seeking to live a more mindful and intentional life. It's a practice that aligns with the Stoic ideals of self-awareness, rationality, and emotional control. When we stop projecting, we start seeing people for who they truly are, not who we imagine them to be. This clarity brings with it the opportunity for deeper connection and understanding, free from the distortions of our own making. Remember, the goal is not to suppress your emotions but to understand them better, to use them as a tool for self-discovery and personal growth. By embracing this Stoic perspective, you can transform how you relate to yourself and others, fostering a life of greater harmony, insight, and genuine connection. So, the next time you feel that familiar urge to project your feelings onto someone else, pause, reflect, and choose to see things as they are, not as your mind would have you believe. This simple shift in perspective can lead to profound changes in your relationships and in your journey toward living a truly virtuous life. Number 8. Differing values. Have you ever found yourself in a heated discussion with someone because you simply didn't see eye to eye on what's important? Perhaps you value family above all else, while your friend or colleague places a higher importance on career success or personal freedom. These differences in values can create tension and misunderstanding, but they are also what make human interactions so rich and complex. We all have unique priorities shaped by our experiences, culture, and personal beliefs. In any group, whether it's your workplace, your social circle, or even within your own family, people will inevitably have differing values. This diversity isn't something to fear or avoid. It's something to understand and respect. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminds us, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. This wisdom encourages us to embrace the differences in those around us, and to recognize that these differences in values are natural and, in fact, vital to a thriving community. Think about a workplace scenario where team members have conflicting priorities. One person might value innovation and creativity, pushing for bold, new ideas, while another might prioritize tradition and stability, advocating for methods that have stood the test of time. At first glance, these differing values might seem like an obstacle to progress. However, from a Stoic perspective, these contrasting viewpoints can actually complement each other, leading to more balanced and thoughtful decision-making. Instead of clashing, what if these individuals saw their differences as a way to strengthen their project? By combining innovative ideas with tried and tested practices, the team could develop a solution that is both groundbreaking and reliable. Stoicism teaches us to focus on our own actions and responses, not to impose our values on others. This approach fosters a spirit of tolerance and patience, helping us navigate these differences more harmoniously. But how can we apply this wisdom in our everyday lives? Let's consider a modern-day example from our personal lives. Imagine you're planning a family vacation, and each family member has different priorities. One person wants a relaxing beach getaway, another is eager for an adventurous mountain trek, while someone else prefers a cultural city tour. It's easy for tensions to rise when everyone's values pull in different directions. The Stoic approach would be to pause and consider each perspective with empathy and an open mind. Instead of insisting on your own preference, try to understand why each person values their choice. Perhaps the beach lover needs a break from stress, the adventure seeker craves excitement, and the culture enthusiast wants to learn something new. By understanding these underlying motivations, you can find a compromise that honors everyone's values, a trip that includes a little bit of relaxation, adventure, and cultural exploration. This approach doesn't just prevent conflict, it also enriches your life. Engaging with people who hold different values opens you up to new ideas and perspectives, fostering personal growth and deeper understanding. As Seneca said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. By embracing the diversity of values, you are exposed to different ways of thinking and being, which can broaden your own outlook on life. You might find that by considering others' values, you develop a more flexible and adaptable mindset, which is crucial in today's ever-changing world. Furthermore, this kind of engagement requires communication skills, open dialogue, active listening, and fair negotiation, all of which are greatly enhanced by the Stoic virtues of wisdom and justice. When you listen carefully and seek to understand where others are coming from, you create a foundation for trust and cooperation, which is essential for any healthy relationship, whether professional or personal. Incorporating these Stoic principles into your daily interactions doesn't just lead to more peaceful and productive relationships. It also contributes to a more empathetic and understanding society. When we respect and value diverse perspectives, we foster a sense of community where everyone feels heard and appreciated. This doesn't mean we have to agree with everyone's values, but it does mean recognizing that each person's values are valid and worthy of consideration. By negotiating differences with respect and fairness, we embody the Stoic ideal of living harmoniously within a community. Remember, the common good is not about everyone thinking the same way, but about embracing the richness that comes from our differences. So next time you encounter someone whose values differ from your own, instead of seeing it as a point of contention, see it as an opportunity. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this person's perspective? How can our differing values lead to a more creative and comprehensive solution? How can I lead by example, showing respect for others' values while staying true to my own? By asking these questions and applying Stoic principles, you not only enhance your own life, but also positively influence those around you. The truth is, differing values are not a barrier but a bridge, an opportunity to connect, learn, and grow together. By embracing this mindset, you can turn potential conflicts into meaningful conversations and build stronger, more resilient relationships, all while living in alignment with Stoic ideals of wisdom, courage, and virtue. If you've made it this far, you're truly embracing the wisdom of Stoicism. Drop a comment saying, "I see the truth," to show you're committed to understanding these fundamental truths about people. Stay tuned, because the journey to self-discovery and growth is just beginning. Number 9. Motivational differences. Have you ever wondered why people are driven by such different things? Why do some of us wake up each day motivated by the pursuit of career success, while others are more inspired by the simple pleasures of spending time with family or pursuing personal hobbies? These motivational differences are a core aspect of human behavior, and understanding them is essential for navigating our social world effectively. In our journey through life, each of us is guided by a unique set of motivations shaped by our experiences, values, and personal goals. Some of us might be motivated by the desire for recognition and achievement, constantly striving for the next promotion or accolade. Others may find their motivation in the quieter realms of life, seeking fulfillment in personal relationships, artistic endeavors, or self-reflection. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely stated, "We are not disturbed by things but by the view we take of them." This quote highlights that our motivations are often shaped by how we interpret our experiences and the meaning we assign to them. Let's take a closer look at how these motivational differences play out in everyday life. Imagine you're working on a team project at work. You're the type who is highly motivated by results, aiming for efficiency and quick, measurable success. But your teammate is motivated by process, valuing a thoughtful, meticulous approach even if it takes more time. It's easy to see how this could lead to frustration or misunderstanding. You might see them as slow or overly cautious, while they might view you as reckless or impatient. But what if, instead of clashing, you both took a step back to understand each other's motivations? By recognizing that your drive for results and their focus on process can complement each other. You can find a balance that benefits the entire team. This is where Stoicism comes into play, teaching us to understand and accept the varied motivations of those around us. The Stoics encourage us to look beyond our immediate judgments and to seek a deeper understanding of why people act the way they do. But how can this understanding of motivational differences help us in our personal lives? Consider a situation in your family or with close friends. You might have a sibling who is driven to build a successful career and values financial stability above all else, while another family member prioritizes adventure and exploration, finding fulfillment in travel and new experiences rather than a traditional job. It's easy for tensions to arise when these different motivations come into conflict. One might see the other as irresponsible, while the other could view their sibling as overly materialistic. However, by applying Stoic principles, we can learn to appreciate these differences rather than letting them drive a wedge between us. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment," reminding us to remain open to different perspectives without letting our own biases cloud our judgment. When we accept that each person is motivated by their own set of desires and values, we become more empathetic and less judgmental, fostering stronger, more understanding relationships. Let's think about how this applies to friendships as well. Have you ever had a friend who seemed less available or responsive because they were engrossed in a new passion, perhaps a hobby or a romantic relationship? It's easy to feel neglected or to assume they no longer value your friendship as much. But what if instead, you viewed their new focus as simply another motivation driving their life at that moment? Could you find a way to support them in their pursuits while also maintaining your connection? This approach aligns with the Stoic idea of focusing on what we can control, our own actions and attitudes, rather than what we cannot control, such as another person's priorities or interests. By recognizing that motivational differences do not necessarily signify a lack of care or respect, but simply a different path, we can maintain our relationships without unnecessary conflict or resentment. Moreover, understanding motivational differences can also lead to personal growth. When we engage with others who have different drivers, we expose ourselves to new perspectives and ways of living. This can be incredibly enriching, challenging our own assumptions and potentially leading us to reconsider our own motivations. Why are you motivated by what drives you? Is it because of a genuine passion, or have you perhaps absorbed societal or familial expectations without fully questioning them? These are the kinds of introspective questions that Stoicism encourages us to ask, helping us to live more authentically and in alignment with our true selves. As Seneca said, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." By understanding and respecting the different motivations that drive people, we can enrich not only our relationships, but also our own understanding of what makes a good life. In every interaction, there lies an opportunity to practice these Stoic principles, to approach others with curiosity and respect, and to use their different motivations as a way to learn more about the human experience. Instead of viewing motivational differences as a source of division, see them as a chance to connect on a deeper level. Ask yourself, what motivates the people around me? How can I better understand their drivers and use this understanding to foster more harmonious and effective relationships? And just as importantly, reflect on your own motivations. Are they serving you well, or is there room for growth and change? By embracing this mindset, you open yourself up to a world of possibilities, where every interaction is a learning opportunity, every relationship a chance to grow, and every differing motivation a doorway to deeper empathy and connection. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, living in harmony with others by understanding and respecting the diversity of motivations that drive us all. So, as you go about your day, remember to look beyond the surface, to see the motivations that lie beneath, and to approach every person with the patience, understanding, and curiosity that Stoicism encourages. Number 10. Post-decision rationalization. Have you ever caught yourself explaining a decision in a way that made you look a little better or sound a bit more reasonable? This is something we all do more often than we might realize, and it's known as post-decision rationalization. It's a fascinating yet subtle part of human nature, where we tend to justify our decisions after the fact, to align with our self-image or the image we wish to project to others. This means we often revise the reasons for our actions, crafting a story that fits more comfortably with our personal beliefs or what we think society expects of us. The Stoic philosophers were acutely aware of this tendency. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." This quote underscores the Stoic commitment to self-awareness and authenticity, encouraging us to make decisions based on truth and reason rather than ego or a desire for external approval. So why do we engage in post-decision rationalization, and what can we learn from it? At its core, this behavior often stems from a need to protect our self-esteem or to avoid what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort that arises when our actions contradict our beliefs or values. For example, imagine you made a financial investment that didn't turn out as planned. Instead of admitting it was a mistake or acknowledging a lapse in judgment, you might find yourself justifying the decision by saying you were supporting a friend or taking a calculated risk. This rationalization helps soothe the discomfort of admitting to an error or facing the reality that you might have acted impulsively. Recognizing this behavior in ourselves and others can foster greater empathy and understanding in our interactions. When we see someone defending a questionable decision with unusual confidence or even stubbornness, it's worth considering that they might be experiencing this internal conflict and are trying to reconcile their actions with their self-image. Let's apply this concept to a modern scenario. Picture yourself in a corporate meeting where a manager has made a risky decision that didn't pay off. Instead of openly discussing what went wrong, they might double down, insisting that their decision was strategically sound and would have succeeded if not for unforeseen circumstances. From a Stoic perspective, understanding this as post-decision rationalization helps you navigate the conversation more effectively. Rather than challenging them outright or escalating the tension, you could approach the situation with curiosity and empathy, asking open-ended questions like, "What was the reasoning behind that decision?" Or, "What can we learn from this outcome?" This approach not only diffuses potential conflict, but also creates a space where learning and growth are possible. But what about recognizing this tendency in ourselves? How often do we make decisions based on fleeting emotions or pressures, only to later reshape our reasoning to make it seem more rational or virtuous? Stoicism teaches us the value of introspection and self-examination, urging us to reflect critically on our motivations and to strive for decisions that align with our true intentions and ethical values. Seneca wisely said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." This involves constantly questioning our choices and being honest about why we made them. Did we act out of fear, pride, or a genuine desire to do what was right? By being truthful with ourselves, we cultivate the Stoic virtues of wisdom and integrity, ensuring that our actions are not just reactive, but thoughtful and principled. Furthermore, understanding post-decision rationalization can improve how we relate to others. When we recognize that people often reshape their narratives to protect themselves from feelings of inadequacy or failure, we become more compassionate listeners. Instead of judging them for trying to justify their actions, we can acknowledge their need for reassurance and support. After all, who among us hasn't felt the sting of regret or the fear of looking foolish? In understanding this, we foster an environment where people feel safe to admit their mistakes and learn from them, rather than doubling down on their errors out of fear or pride. Think about a time when you felt the need to justify a choice you made. What was driving that need? Was it a desire to be seen in a certain light by others, or perhaps a reluctance to admit that you were wrong? By examining these questions, you begin to understand the deeper motivations behind your actions, paving the way for more genuine self-awareness and personal growth. And isn't that what Stoicism is all about? Living in harmony with oneself, guided by reason and virtue? So next time you catch yourself rationalizing a decision, pause and ask, is this the truth, or am I trying to make myself feel better? This small act of honesty can be incredibly liberating, freeing you from the chains of ego and opening the door to a more authentic and fulfilling life. In embracing this understanding, we learn to live with greater integrity, allowing our decisions to be guided by truth rather than the need to protect our ego. We become more willing to learn from our mistakes, to change our course when necessary, and to approach others with the same understanding and compassion. By doing so, we not only grow as individuals, but also contribute to a more honest and supportive community, one that values truth and learning over appearance and pride. And so, we find that the practice of Stoicism in this regard is not just about improving ourselves, but also about fostering a world where people can interact with openness, trust, and a shared commitment to growth. In the end, isn't this the kind of world we all want to live in? A world where decisions are made with wisdom, actions are taken with integrity, and everyone is encouraged to be their truest, most authentic selves? As we come to the end of today's journey through the 10 truths you need to accept about people, let's take a moment to reflect on the profound lessons we've explored. The essence of Stoicism teaches us to look beyond the surface, to see people not just as they present themselves, but as complex beings shaped by their experiences, beliefs, and emotions. By understanding these truths, we aren't merely gaining insight into others, we're also unlocking a deeper understanding of ourselves. Each truth we've discussed today is a tool for cultivating empathy, fostering meaningful connections, and approaching life's inevitable challenges with grace and resilience. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This perspective encourages us to see every difficulty as an opportunity for growth, every misunderstanding as a chance to learn, and every interaction as a moment to practice wisdom, patience, and virtue. The teachings of Stoicism remind us that while we cannot control others, we can control how we respond to them. By adopting a mindset that focuses on our own actions and attitudes, we begin to see how each interaction, each conflict, and each moment of connection offers a chance to apply these timeless principles. When we encounter someone whose behavior frustrates or confounds us, we have the choice to pause, reflect, and respond with understanding rather than judgment. This approach not only enriches our relationships, but also helps us to become better versions of ourselves. As we grow in our ability to manage our reactions, we also grow in our capacity to lead more harmonious and fulfilling lives. Think about the last few truths we covered. Whether it's recognizing the different communication styles people have, understanding how stress uniquely affects each person, or appreciating that everyone has their own insecurities and motivations. These are not just abstract ideas. They are real, practical insights that can transform how we live and interact with the world around us. When we accept that people are driven by their own self-interests, shaped by their own experiences, and motivated by their own desires, we begin to see the world with a broader, more compassionate lens. We stop taking things personally, and instead we start seeing the shared human condition that binds us all. This is the true power of Stoicism, not to distance us from others, but to bring us closer, with greater empathy and understanding. So, as you move forward from this video, I encourage you to take these lessons to heart. Reflect on how you can apply them in your own life. How can you be more patient in a heated discussion? How can you approach a difficult person with empathy rather than frustration? How can you use these truths to build stronger, more meaningful relationships both at home and at work? By embracing these principles, you are not just adopting a philosophy. You are choosing a way of life that prioritizes wisdom, self-control, and compassion. Remember, each day is an opportunity to practice these virtues, to refine your character, and to contribute to a more understanding and connected world. If you found today's discussion insightful and valuable, I invite you to become a part of our growing community here at Stoic in Your Life. Please like this video to show your support, share it with others who might benefit from these teachings, and subscribe to the channel for more content that dives deep into the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update. We have a lot more to explore together. Let's continue to walk this path of self-discovery and personal growth, guided by the ancient principles that have stood the test of time. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, keep striving to live each day with purpose, understanding, and a steadfast commitment to the values that matter most. Together, let's build a life that is not only fulfilling, but also truly meaningful.